Welcome to the Why Dad podcast. We are your hosts, Paul Wandry and Andrew Stopelstead, and we are on a mission to figure out what it means to be a dad, why it matters, and how to be the best possible. Today, we have a special guest on with us, Cory Carlson, former corporate executive turned executive coach, author of Win at Home First and Rise and Go, and host of the Win at Home First podcast. Cory helps leaders thrive in both their work and their family life, blending decades of business experience with a passion for intentional fatherhood, resilience, and faith. Welcome to the show, Cory.
Paul and Andrew, thank you very much for having me. I love just come alongside guys who want to help all of us, myself included, because I don't have it 100% figured out, but just how to be better dads. So thank you.
Yeah, I don't think any of us has it 100% figured out. So, but that's the name of the game, right? We try to help each other along the way. We figure it out along the way. And if we're open to learning and being intentional about it, we'll only improve. And speaking of improvement, what are we improving towards? Often that's some version of success. So what does success mean for you, Cory?
Yeah, for me, a long time, success meant how much money I was making and what I was doing. And I think of this idea of winning. Like, to win means I'm competing against somebody out there, right? I want to beat them in my sales performance. I want to sell more than them. I want to get the accolades, get the awards. And so I chased that type of winning for a long time. And really what changed for me is this idea of winning or success is when I actually can line my priorities up with my purpose. That is success for me. And for a long time, it was about what everyone else thought my priorities were, and I would do that. But now it's understanding my priorities and making sure that they line up to my purpose.
I like that. I don't know if you've had time to listen to Paul's and I's podcast episodes, but we did do a couple episodes on purpose and whatnot, and just trying to find exactly what that is. What did that search for you, like finding your purpose, entail? And what advice would you have for all of us to really go down that journey of self-discovery?
Yeah, I think it is a journey. That is for sure. The word is a journey. I've had numerous moments, just like both of you have had, like those kairos moments where something just happens and it's boom, this is maybe what's more important than what another thing is important. One of those nights was a night I was in Florida at a work dinner. And while I'm at this work dinner, the company I worked for, I was president of sales. We were owned by a private equity group. And we're in the process of trying to be sold. At this particular dinner, this individual is showing me on his phone how loud his brand new Mercedes is. And as it went down the street. And I've got no problem with fancy cars. I've got buddies, as you both have buddies with fancy cars. And so I have no issue with them. What I did, the issue I had that evening is when he talked about his car and how loud it was, his energy level was really high. But then as we started talking about family, the energy just went down, down, down. And I'm just sitting there at this dinner table away from my family, just thinking, is this my life? Am I just to travel, help these other guys make tons of money? I'm away from my family, that sacrifice. Is that really my purpose? Is that what it's all about? Frustrated. When the dinner's over, I go out and I actually call my executive coach. I have had an executive coach for a long time and had different ones along the way. But this particular night, I call my executive coach, sharing how I'm frustrated with just that whole dinner experience. Is this my job to just sell things, help people make a lot of money? And he's like, hey, put together a purpose statement. I was like, what's a purpose statement going to do to help me? It's one sentence. And he walked me through this framework. I include the framework in my book, Win at Home First. And it's just these 5 Ps. And it doesn't have to be this framework at all, but 5 Ps. Hey, what problems have you overcome that you want to help other people overcome? What are you passionate about? What provisions have God given you that you could use to bless others? Your personality, how are you wired? And then potential. Some individuals can see things pretty cool. and
Yeah.
see potential in things. And so I wrote down, just did a brain dump of those 5 Ps and encourage the listeners to just do a brain dump. And then as you kind of look at it, pray over it, a sentence will rise to the top. For me, that in fact happened. The sentence is to connect people to greater performance and even more significant purpose. I put that statement together about 8 years ago. It's the same one to this day. And what that means for me is when I am out and about, how can I connect people to greater performance? So I want to help them win at home and win at work. Greater purpose is to God, if I can connect them to God, but if it's not a faith type conversation, then hey, just serve others. Be more outward focused than inward focused.
Yeah.
And it has just been helpful to give me that type of purpose of, hey, that's how God has uniquely and wonderfully made me. And then he's done that for each of us. So trying to figure out what is that purpose. And that's helped me.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Cory. I did start reading your book naively thinking that I could fly through it before this episode, but then no, you had to drop those deep, thought-provoking questions, and so I'm still working through them, but enjoying the read so far, and looking forward to what I end up with.
Hey, thanks for reading my book. That means a lot. There are a ton of books out there, and you taking time to read mine means a lot. So thank you.
You provide a lot of just great material that I personally can also relate with. I work in a bank doing a lot of production work, and I get involved in a lot of side projects. So it's like I get so caught up in that a lot of times what really matters, like you're saying, just falls down. The energy level drops on that. A few weeks ago, I started listening to your podcast and everything too. I'm just like, wow, this guy gets. Yeah. And the way you present, the way you just talk about the 5 Ps here, like, resonates so deeply with me, because that's basically what Paul and I have been trying to talk to, but you put it so succinctly and so well. If we could ask ourselves, what are those 5 Ps for us? That gets us going down that journey on a solid pace.
Yeah, thanks for the kind words. I've just been working at this. Just there's items that both of you can speak to where I've just been working at it. I share it with clients. Because of it's made me better, and makes others better. There's a lot of stuff I don't know. Absolutely, there's a ton of stuff I don't know. But I've had the opportunity to coach over 220 business leaders, and I've just seen what works. So I just keep going back to what works. Yeah, I definitely read more books. I got a stack of books over here I'm reading. I listen to podcasts. I'm still trying to learn new items, but I also just go back to what works. And the purpose statement. I had a business owner last year hire me, and he was burnt out. He owned an excavating company, and he just was like, is this it? Is this my life? I'm just going to help people move dirt. It was like a similar burnout that I had.
Right.
I have helped. I've worked with a dentist before, and he's just, I fix teeth. Is that all I do is fix teeth? And it's one of those deals where we don't get burned out because we forget what we do or how we do it. We get burned out because we forget why we do it. And so for me, that why is helping each of those different leaders. What is your purpose statement? Because there's going to be some days we don't want to fix teeth if we're a dentist. We don't want to move dirt if we're in construction. We don't want to go sell if we're in sales. However, if we can get it to switch and just think on those rough days, hey, what is my purpose statement? Then it helps give us some fire. And there's some days the sentence doesn't even work. There's just days we don't want to work, right? And we're just in a funk. We don't want to go to the gym. We don't want to do anything. I get it. I have those days too. But what I'm trying to do in my life, and then help others do the same, is we all have those down days. It's just how can we get back up quicker and get momentum going again?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great points. And I think the challenge that is raised for me, and I imagine many of our listeners deal with the same, is we have those moments of clarity, right? Like the moments of, okay, this is what we're after. Maybe we even do the work and come up with a purpose statement. What would your recommendation be to refocus, to bring that always back to front and center? Because we have those down days, how do we bounce back faster?
I think a lot of the times how we bounce back faster is in our daily habits, our daily practices, for sure. My best day is when it starts the night before, is what time am I getting to bed? When's the last time I looked at my phone? What did I eat and drink before bedtime? And then if I get a good night's sleep, and then I wake up at 5, I go to the gym, I then come back, I do my quiet time. Like this morning, read Mark 4. We're going through the book of Mark. I journaled, and then I start my work day. That's my best day because I'm starting on fire. Now, days that I stayed up too late, I maybe had an extra glass of wine that I shouldn't have had. I start off and I'm just blah and just groggy that next day. So I think it's understand your habits, like what helps you operate your best, and then quickly recalibrate, because we all get off track. I was out of town this past weekend, seeing family. I came back home, and it's a little bit like hard to get everything rolling again. So it's figuring out what is that ideal day for you, and go for it. Just go to that.
Yeah, it's almost like it's the muscle of coming back to your purpose, to what you're driving after, is more important than the perfect day itself. Because if you can develop that muscle, then you're going to keep coming back, as opposed to life is always going to throw you garbage, so you can't guarantee perfect day after perfect day.
That's right. And one thing that's helped me a ton, talk about some challenges, right? We're promised the trials and tribulations, is in September 2020, I was on a trip with my daughter, who at the time was 16 years old. And we were at this coach's event. We had to answer some questions like, what are we excited about? And what are breakthroughs? And even what are frustrations? And we wrote down these items and we shared them with each other. She shared hers with me, and I'm an emotional dad, so I was getting teary-eyed, and she loves dance, and she's her friends, and it was great. It was my turn. I shared my answers with her, and when I was done, I was like, babe, what do you think? And she said, Dad, you sound angry. I was like, what? What do you mean I sound angry? As we unpacked my answers, all my answers were similar. I've written book number 1, but I want more and more and more. I've had some cool clients, but I want more and more and more. I've had some neat speaking engagements, but I want more and more and more. My daughter, who was 16 at the time, could tell I was more focused on the gap than the gain.
Mm-hmm.
That I was more focused on those unchecked boxes than the checked boxes of my life. So that rocked my world. I came home, and I didn't invent this idea. It's been done before. But I started writing down 3 things I'm grateful for every night. I have done it probably 98% of the time since September 2020. I have a journal by my bed, and every night I do that. It has totally shifted my mindset. Do I still have some bad days? Absolutely. But as leaders, we are so focused on, did we climb that hill? And if we did, we don't celebrate it. What's the next mountain I got to climb? Right. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? But we have got to slow down as leaders of our families, of our work teams, to celebrate progress.
Yeah.
To celebrate the good that is happening, because all of us can lose sight of it and get beat down because we're not going as fast or the direction we want to go. But reality is we could be moving in a good direction. We don't take time to look at it. We're too busy comparing to how everyone else is.
You have to take a step back and see where your painting's at in order to know where to put the next brush strokes.
Well put, both of you. I'm really interested in this trip with your teenage daughter, Cory, because it seems from what I've seen on your posts on LinkedIn and elsewhere that you have a close relationship with your teenage daughters, which stereotypically is probably rare. And as a daughter of a 4-year-old daughter, as a parent of a 4-year-old daughter, and I know many of our listeners have daughters as well, what would you recommend to us to help guarantee that relationship when our daughters are in their teens and later?
Yeah. For sure. We hear, hey, love is spelled Time. We've heard that phrase with spending time with kids. And I agree with that. But I do think the time has to be intentional and you need to be present. I had a client years ago who said that he was hanging out in the sun and his son said, hey, Dad, listen to me. And my client was on his phone and he said, yes, son, I am listening to you. And he says, Dad, listen to me with your eyes. And it's wow. I mean, our kids are paying attention. So just because you're doing time with them doesn't mean you're actually hanging out with them. If you're in the same room with them and you mentioned daughters and you're playing dolls with them, but you're also looking at your phone, I don't care if it's email or you're looking at sports scores or you're scrolling Facebook, they can tell. They can totally tell when you are hanging out with them or not. When you're driving in the car with them as they get older, going to practices, are you talking to them or are you on a work phone call or are you listening to your podcast and they are in the back seat on their iPad or they're in the front seat listening to their own thing? We're not talking about just physical presence. We're talking about there needs to be that emotional connection. And if you do that day in, day out, and you're going to miss days because I travel for work, but when you are around, if you are present, they are going to pay attention that, yeah, man, my dad wants to hang out with me.
Yeah.
He wants to hang out with me, and they'll remember that. And so fast forward, my kids are now 21. My girls are 21, 17, and my boy is 13. And I've got a great relationship with all three of them because I'm intentional about spending time with them. And when I'm together, I'm intentional about how we spend the time.
Right.
Hitting on both of those, how we spend time, my girls just made fun of me a couple weeks ago because I put on our calendars, we're having coffee at 2 p.m. on Friday with them. They laugh, and my daughter says, you're like the only dad that, invites us to do things. Well, a couple things. You're the only dad that invites the daughters to hang out with them. None of my other friends or dads are doing that. A couple reasons. One, I have to put it in my calendar because if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist.
Right.
If I say, let's go to coffee on Friday at 2, man, if it's not on my calendar, I'm going to blow right past it because I am human and I get going and striving and I forget. So I have to put it on my calendar for me. I also put it in their calendar because they're super busy and I don't want me to say something loose of, hey, let's do coffee on Friday. Then before we know it, Friday comes along. Oh my goodness, I forgot. Dad, I'm going to the pool with my girlfriends.
Yeah.
I want them to block it out. I want to block it out. And so that's a part of it is I think you got to put in your calendar to make it happen. The other piece is when you're together is being intentional how you're going to spend the time. I send out a weekly email and to readers about how to win at home, win at work. Listeners, if you want to sign up for it, it's at CoryMCarlson.com. Sign up for it and you get emails. But tomorrow's email is specifically to this, and it's this. I had a client last week say, hey, how do you handle the drives with your kids? I was like, what do you mean? Going to and from practice. I said, I learned this the hard way. I'm sure being a child of a dad who's an executive coach is hard because every day in the car, I want to share, hey, what's your vision statement? Let's go through the 5 Ps, or this is a devotion I read this morning. What do you think of it? I did that all the time. And my kids would roll their eyes and they get frustrated. And in a quiet time, I just was reflecting on it and just asking, God, what am I doing wrong? I want to share all this information with them. And I got this audible from God of just ask me how to show up each time. And so what that meant for me is I would, on the way to dance for one of my daughters, on the way to gymnastics for my other daughter, like I would pray, God, what is today's pickup going to be like? Is this a teaching drive home? Or is this a roll down the windows and play Taylor Swift really loud drive home? And it was wild. I would get an answer and I'd have peace about it. If I felt it was a Taylor Swift drive home, I would drive home. We would listen to the music, talk about the day, very loose. I don't want to say surface level, but let's just say surface level. But when I pulled in the driveway, I was at peace. Like, I did the right thing as a dad.
Yeah.
Then on the days where I was like, hey, I felt God saying it's a teaching drive. As I would teach a concept or share a Devo, they listened. Like, they were actually engaged. It was so cool how it worked. And so that's my recommendation. I still have to think about it myself when I hang out with them now. If I go to a coffee shop, is this a hangout coffee time or is this a teaching time? So anyways, it still takes constant intentionality to be prepared correctly when I'm with my kids.
Yeah, that is fantastic and concrete advice that I think we can all apply. Would I be wrong regarding your drives home with your kids and asking God, okay, what type of drive is this? In opening yourself up to God, and maybe some of our listeners don't have that type of relationship, would you say that you're also opening yourself up to see where your kids were at too, to kind of like pick up on their vibes, so to speak?
Yes, I think that's a very spot on. Yeah, I think there were probably times where maybe I didn't even hear back from God. I'm on my own. I just feel like you're on your own. And so I would gauge what are they doing? Are they in a good mood, bad mood? Are they asking me a question like out of the gates? What's the vibe? So absolutely. But I think that's a great point, is the whole process is just setting up your posture to be open to how the drive home goes, as opposed to being like, it's got to be this way and I'm doing this. No, just to have a posture of open hands that, hey, this time I'm driving home, I'm open-handed, I'm going to steward it well as a dad. And does that mean fun? Does that mean more teaching or higher challenge? Just try to steward that time well.
Awesome. Andrew, seems like you got something. I don't know. Okay.
To word this properly, but I'm just going to go out and we'll see where Holy Spirit will takes us on this. Going from that mindset, when your daughter's had a difficult time, how do you maintain that openness and willingness to learn and not having your I gotta fix this moment brain on, but they just want me to be there to listen to them and as they try to work through their problems?
I've gotten this wrong many times. Absolutely gotten this wrong many times. When I do it my best, I ask questions. I just ask questions to learn more, because also when I go quick to solve, I don't know all the context. Like, I may give advice that's dumb advice because I didn't know what this other girl said, or I didn't know what the coach said that wasn't information I had yet. And so I just ask more questions about it. What I'm also trying to do with my kids, I'm trying to point them to go to God sooner and get them in a habit of doing that verse. I always have the right answer. And so some of those questions will be, have you prayed about it? What do you have peace about? In your quiet time, have you thought about how you want to respond, or what you want to say to her, or what you want to say to the coach? Or so that has helped the conversations, because I don't want to come across as the end all be all of authority.
Right.
I do have some great tips and advice and items that I know work, but at the same time, I want her process. I want them, all three kids, just to be their go-to is to pray, to reflect on it as well. I try to ask questions. I try to have that posture of curiosity. I try to point them to God so that that's their default that they have to. And then after, if we get to a good spot in the conversation, I still think I've got some playing time left in the conversation, I may provide a solution or an idea.
That's really, really helpful. I think that these past 2 points that you've made were answering a very important question that I wanted to be sure to ask, and I didn't even have to ask him. That was like, okay, so if I feel like I'm driven and intentional, somebody either in my family or otherwise isn't like at that same point in their journey, but you want to help them, how do you help them without forcing them to your cookie cutter? And it sounds like being open, having that posture of openness, asking questions, encouraging them to do the reflection were those answers that I was looking for. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. And the hard part as a parent is just releasing control. It's hard. Kind of like how God has to do with us, where there's free will. It's we can do whatever we want. As far as, are we doing our quiet time? Are we not? But he still pursues us. He still wants us back, still loves us. And as a dad with our kids, I would love if they did their quiet time every day. I would love if they always helped with chores. I would love if they always ran to me when I walked in the house and gave me a big hug. But they don't do those things all the time. So I have to have grace towards them when they fall short, just like I have to ask for forgiveness when I've been a jerky dad.
Right.
And then just continue. So just that ongoing process.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that resonates. Growing up in a household where, both it was a religious and military household. So perfection was often demanded, and which is unfeasible, right? And so I find myself demanding perfection of myself, demanding perfection of my family, and that's kind of a type of control, right? So I need to let go of that perception, let go of that expectation. So I appreciate that advice.
Yeah.
You've worked with many clients, and so I'm sure you've seen a wide range of challenges and issues and needs. What would you say is one of the top tools that you given your clients that is something that we could start teaching our kids now as parents?
I lead a community for men, for faith-forward men, called Rise. And it's basically for faith-forward men who want to learn how to grow in their leadership at home and work. And it's been awesome. And we've got an app that the members get access to. And a guy posted this inside Rise just this morning. And so I gave a comment, and I think, one, it's top of mind because someone just posted this and it's got all kinds of engagement. So other people are clinging to it. And then I provide this response. And what was posted was this fact that, hey, my daughter doesn't think she's pretty compared to all of her classmates. How do I parent through this?
Yeah.
And so my response that I shared, and just even expanding on it right here, is I think the most important thing as fathers that we need to be reinforcing with our kids is their identity in being beloved sons and daughters of God. Because everything else is temporary. The gymnastics medals, the dance recitals, the captain of the football team, the 4.0, how many likes they get on a Instagram post. All those are temporary. They will go away. And so we just reinforce identity with our kids. Hey, you are a beloved son or daughter. Now, we have to go for excellence, not perfectionism, but excellence. We want to get good grades. We want to practice hard. And if we become a starter, great. Like, we want to show up and give our best version of ourselves at all times. But all that's fleeting and will go away. But your identity as a beloved daughter, beloved son, is so important. We saw fruit out of this. My daughter was a competitive gymnast, made it to level 9, which, if you know anything about gymnastics, there's 10 levels. And then after that, it's college. So she made it to level 9. We thought college was going to be in the future. She took a nasty fall, got hurt. Had we not talked about identity, I think it could have been very damaging to her, because her identity would have been being a gymnast. And I am going to go to college and be a gymnast. But because we said our identity is being a beloved daughter, and one way you get to show that is by being a gymnast. You get to also show it in the classroom. You get to show it in your neighborhood, playing with your friends. But I think it saved her mindset, because she is like, hey, this sucks. I got hurt. I wish I wasn't hurt, but it doesn't define who I am.
Right.
And so just reinforcing that is so important. But I think also for us as parents, the same thing is true. We can't take our identity to our job title or how much money we make, because all that will go away. I've been fired. I've almost had to file bankruptcy for a bunch of real estate gone bad in about 2010. So I've had all those. So I can't put my identity in that. But what we also can't do is we can't put our identity in our kids. I can't think it's amazing that my daughter got a 4.0 in college, or what happens if she doesn't? What happens if she gets a B? Is she any less than, or am I less than a father? Or for the father out there where it's, oh, my kids are amazing, good kids, they go to church, all this. What happens if someone gets pregnant before they get married? We can't put our identity in how good our kids are. And so it's just, we've got to be careful that our identity is also being a beloved son, beloved daughter. That is not in our job title or the status of our family.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, what would you say are some practical ways to help our kids find their identity, and then also if they are solid in their identity, as you recommend, in being a beloved child of God, that's what that looks like for them individually is going to be different from kid to kid. So, how do you practically help them achieve that and achieve that self-awareness?
Things that we've done in our house. One, we talk about it.
Right.
It's not a one and done. It's a constant communication. That is their identity. We also do it through just having a relationship. We'll do devos at times, devotions in our family. I do them with my kids. I just did it with my son this morning. An awesome devotion called Daily Wisdom for Men. And so I do that every morning with my son. That is very, very helpful. The other thing is, as parents, is paying attention to what you compliment your kids on. We work hard to compliment them on character versus competency, meaning you were a great teammate today. I like how you encourage your teammates or picked up the water at the end of practice. I want to make sure I'm saying those and talking about character more than I am the interception that he caught, or the score they got in gymnastics. So complimenting them on character, complimenting them on the attributes of God that they have and that they show off,
Right.
that they embody, versus some of those temporary things. That's great. My son got an interception, but I can't just keep complimenting the interception, because what happens the next game when he doesn't get the interception? Or what happens when he goes off and quits football and does other sports? But if I compliment him and his attributes of God, of he's joyful or he's patient, he can carry those on forever. And so that's what an action item to have is just, what do you compliment your kids on? Pay attention to that.
Funny you brought that up. Paul and I were literally just talking about this right before you jumped on the call. The same conclusion. Instead of saying job or you're so smart, you notice one of the kids struggled through figuring out a problem, but I'm like, I noticed you really struggled and you found a very good solution to that problem.
Yeah. Sweet. There you go. I mean, fantastic.
I just find it providential you brought that up, considering Paul and I were literally talking about that.
It's cool. It must mean we're doing something right. That's the right way to go. Cool.
Awesome. Andrew, I know you had a question that you wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Maybe we do that one and then we end up wrapping up.
It's a question I reserved for some guests to be offline because it's more personal, but now I want to be able to have other guys in my situation with being an aspiring dad hear and wisdom that I hear. What advice would you have for me as a single man trying to find that right lady that wants to be a dad? How to really go about that, how to be the best man I am now, uncle I am now, and then using all of that to prepare in my active journey towards being a father.
Yeah, my encouragement is to just continue just to be the best version of yourself. It's, I have nothing new to say other than what you already know. But what I do know is becoming the best version of yourself, that you are marriage worthy, which you are marriage worthy. You're doing all the things right. You've got your health in check, your finances in check. You yourself are a faith forward man, and you are submitting daily to God, and you're growing because you want, if you think about who you want to become, like when you fast forward, like people have done the eulogy exercise, or hey, write your eulogy. How do you want to be remembered? I think that could be hard. That could be weird to do. I don't know what I'll be like at 85 or 90 whenever I die. So I've had clients do an exercise. Where do you want to be in 10 years? But not just where do you want to be or what do you want to do, but who do you want to become? So if you spend time I will have clients go through and do this exercise, but the most simply way to think about it is spiritually. Who do you want to become? What kind of man do you want to become? Relationally, what kind of man do you want to become? Physically, intellectually, and financially, each of those is who do I want to become? And so spiritually, I am a faith-forward man who, is committed to growing in faith. All right, if that's who you want to become, what are you doing actions out today that help that? Yeah, I'm doing daily devotions. I'm praying. Relationally, I want to be a loving spouse and friend and parent. Great. Are you doing that? And so those are some of the things I would help is that you've got to just continue to work on yourself. Because when marriage comes, it's hard. You better make sure you have love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, because it's hard. And stepping into that now, you're going, I wish I would have done a better job of that. Because I made dumb choices early on in my marriage. But if I would have had a much stronger foundation in my faith and in the man I wanted to become, then I probably would have made a bunch of dumb decisions. I wouldn't have strived as hard.
Yeah.
And so it's getting yourself grounded and submitting to God daily, I think, is a huge piece. And then keep dating, keep meeting ladies, and you want to find that lady who is also grounded in doing well. I've heard it said before, not only is it who you marry is the most important decision you make, besides obviously your faith, but a great spouse will double your impact, or a bad spouse will cut it in half.
Yes.
I know a lot of guys that are playing way below their potential because they have a nagging spouse. They have someone who's not supportive, that is jealous or is controlling when they travel, whatever it may be. Or if you marry well, you have someone who supports you and encourages you to take the dreams. And for me, as my wife, to be on board when I decided to leave corporate to go into coaching, even though I went from a high salary to a $0 salary.
Yeah.
And we had 3 kids, but it's having that supportive. So you don't want to rush something that's so important. You just keep pounding the nail every single day of being the man that you want to become, growing closer to God. And we pray it sooner than later that you get your spouse. My daughter's 21 and she is anxious to find her man. And so we have I had a lot of these conversations over the summer, and it's hard because she sees, so we've got some ladies in our life that are older and not married, and she's like, I don't want that path for me. And I'm like, I totally get it. I totally get it, but we don't want to go rush it, man. You can go get married tomorrow, but you may regret that. So I'd keep pounding the nail, and we're just going to pray that there's an awesome lady that's getting ready to be married to Andrew as well right now.
Thank you, Cory. I know she's out there. I got to put in the work too. to get
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Great, Cory. Thank you. This has been a fantastic conversation. I know I got a lot out of it, and I'm sure our listeners will as well. We covered a lot. We covered purpose, and you provided the 5 Ps with questions to ask, which will provide the titles to your books if people want to learn more about that. We talked about burnout, daily habits, how to build connection with our kids, being open and posture, letting go of control, identity. So just so much great stuff, so many gems. I really appreciate your time. And for our listeners, we will be dropping the links and titles in our show notes. And we are looking forward to next time. Until next time, thank you, everybody. And thank you, Cory and Andrew.
Thank you, Cory. Thank you, Paul. Thank you all.
All right.
Hey, thank you guys very much.